Hello and welcome again to the channel for another standard deck tech featured other terms that you may call it. So this deck is the what they call as the Golgari Control or black green, maybe control or mid range in a sense. And this was played in a $600 cash duel number 10 from GG Tour. As you can see, it has 206 players participants, but the deck got around the third to fourth place, basically the top four of the event. And there's played by Scotty Nada, the username. And I think you did for this deck tech that you successfully placed in the event wherein you got into the top four. So again, congratulations. So what we're looking to is sort of a mid-range version. I can call it more of a mid-range because of the late game setup of the chariots and the planeswalkers. But we shall see one by one or card by card as how this deck purely functions. So let's just go with the basic creatures. The 3 copies of Prosperous Innkeeper and 4 of these Tangled Furahedron. This is more of a land drop, but basically a mana ramp by itself. If played it for 2 mana, it becomes a 1/1 that can produce a green mana. And for Prosperous Innkeeper, it has a trigger when it enters the battlefield that has a creature token, a treasure token. Wherein the treasure is you can sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color, so you can basically ramp up to your 4th turn, or in case that you need to cast 4 mana spells on your 3rd turn, then you can have to play it the Innkeeper on your 2nd turn. So it has another trigger effect also. With another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So additional bonus, it gets you a 1/1, gets you 1 life, then it gets you a treasure token. Then along with it is Shigeki. It may be aligned under the creatures, but given that it has an ability of having a 1/3 by itself, but you may pay 1 colorless in green, then tap, return it to your own hand. Then when you build top 4 cards to library and put a land card from them into the battlefield top. So basically it's a slow mana creature, but later on, what's the good thing is you can basically bounce itself back to your hand, and you can use it for its channel cost. By paying double X and 2 green mana, you can return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. That is if needed for the late game, in case that the game goes within a stalemate, and you can basically draw into Shigeki Jukai Visionary in your top deck. So we go for the spells, basically just a few of the spot removals in the deck. Starts March. This is the new inclusion from Kamigawa in Dynasty. This is a 1x for black. Additional cost to cast, you may exile a number of black cards from your hand. So as you exile for each black card, it will cost 2 colorless mana less for each of this black card exile. So as how you paid X, it will deal X damage to a creature or planeswalker, and you can gain X life. So sort of a spot removal in a conditional spot removal, but in late game it can be a good mana sink, which also gets you life and also dealing with a threat of a creature or a planeswalker. So the rest, the main deck enfeeblement maybe is because of the metagame of being more on white, as because its bonus is it is a 1 to cast instant, but if the creature is white, it gets -4/-4 instead of the usual -4/-1 spot removal. So it is effective against white Winnie. So having these 2 in the main game and the main deck, will not really hurt its setup. Also, a lone copy of Infernal Grass for random or sort of situational spot removal, if you may say, and Hagramon also, which you can later on play land if needed, if you be having mana issues in your draws. So Dig Up is basically just a searching for a basic land, and it's 1 mana, but upon paying its clip effect, you'll get to search for any land, search for a card, and then put it in your hand and shuffle. So at the late turns, you can do fixing mana fix needed, then late game you can basically act as a tutor to dig up literally any card needed into your deck. Maybe it's Planeswalker, spot removal, or any other creature. So again, for the spot, I mean, this is I think this main core win or card draw of the deck, the Invoke Despair. As I mentioned before, I was planning to create a mirror version of this, and a good thing I'm seeing this version for Golgari, which is sort of a good 5 drop for them, 5 cast, and given that they can also basically ramp this, so having to play this on turn 4 would not really an unusual gameplay for this deck. So as you check again the ability, target opponent sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they will lose 2 life and you will draw a card. Then it will repeat this process for enchantment or planeswalker. So basically it will repeat 2 more times. So 3 effects in just a single card. And if they can't do this, each of these effects, they will use 2 life and you will basically gain you a card. So in a way you can basically reach out their damage on them while getting to set up with the rest of your threats, such as your Planeswalkers, your Loth Spider Queen, and Esika's Chariot for another good threat to cast once given in the late game. So the rest of our ramp also, we have Celestus as a pseudo ramp and card draw effect, along with the Binding of the Old Gods, as it is for to cast non-permanent removal, and at the same time you can search you for a forest card to ramp up your mana and gets your creatures that touch until end of turn for its saga effect. So along with it, our mass removal is only the best, probably the best mass removal in the black for standard, which is the Mythok Massacre. So having to green as a good partner to make this X payment for X more efficient, as you just basically ramp up your mana and then wipe their board if in case that they get to try to overrun you in their returns. So given its card price, it's basically auto inclusion for black decks, even for Golgari versions of this build. So we look at the lands, basically it's fixing of the Darkboard Pathways, that Cap Glade, and some man lands with the Eye Tyrant and 1 copy of it, and the Lair of the Hydra. So the Hive is probably around $2. Still cheap, and Lair of the Hydra at the same with $2 in its current price. So the new inclusion also having Busiju in the main, 2 copies of Busiju, and Takenuma Abandoned Mire for added support and channel effects if needed for this build. For the sideboard, we look at discard spells with Duress, another 2 copies of Enfeeblement for against white. We have also a Parasitic Glass copy, 3 damage and gain 3 life. We have Witherbloom Command, so by utility spell on its own. Go blank against control with discard effects and exiling those cards in its graveyard. Soul Shatter for easily dealing with the best creature or maybe a next flop creature, or dealing with the planeswalker of the opponent. Shadows of Verdict with mass removal effect if needed for the balancing of the list, and 2 copies of Cragblade Plalot, which is still a good for black green given it's still from Zendikar Rising. It is can be countered in next group, so basically you can just kill off other control decks if they can find ways to deal with it without non-targeting effects that they would need to go with this dude, so they can be able to kill it. So overall, I think the sideboarding plan of this is plainly simple. If you get to encounter control decks, then just build side in the Duresses, remove the spot removals such as this one, maybe some inscriptions is okay as they have discard effects. Maybe just get some of the March, and then Duress, some of the blind can cut off for Go Blanks, and Soul Shatter, and we'll just update it according to your preference. But I think this is also the inclusion for the ballot is an inclusion for control decks, as they can basically can be countered maybe for blue white or Dimir or Esper versions. As given that it has placed in third, maybe it wasn't able to pull through with the ballot on this matchup against blue white or Esper control, but given its success, still a good finish despite the sort of a deck tech version of this build. So if you would want to try this on MtG Arena or Magic on the Ring Online, you must check out this list on this page. It was posted in the top 8. And if you have any changes, you can just feel free to comment on this video. And for any updates or card change that you might want to add. So overall, this is just a standard deck tech for Golgari Control and feature of this for this channel. I do hope you enjoy this short discussion video, and if ever you would have questions and other videos that you might want to check for the current metagame of Standard, you can do so in the link. It was linked in my channel under the playlist of that marked MtG TV. So just check on what other standard decks was featured there and was discussed also. So again, thank you for watching this video, and until the next time.